here with the birthday boy, 20 years of age, Liam, my good friend Liam, who I've known now for, gosh, has it been 4 years?
Yeah, I think four and a
Uh,
half years.
Happy to be his host on here. I'm doing the intro. Tim Boyle, fifth-year quarterback out of the great state of Connecticut, and looking forward to having this conversation with you, man. I'm glad that we were able to connect again, and it's good to see your friends and your mom popped on. It's you guys have a great community over there.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, man. We have the 8 ball champ in the building right now.
100% we do. You know what? There's always time for more games, baby. You can always come back.
Yes, there are. So getting started last November when Jared Goff suffered the abdominal strain during the Week 10 Steelers tie. I always felt like I always hate ties in football. They're always so pointless. And like tying a game, that's like kissing your sister. It's not there, it's right now.
Tying a game is weird. I think that there should be a way, especially in the NFL, where there's always a victor, because that one at the end of the record, that tie is just so weird. And I tied a game my rookie year. We played the Vikings and we tied it. It's just such a weird feeling. Like you said, it's like that kissing your sister. It just doesn't feel right.
I know a tie is a lot like kissing your sister, as my old coach used to say, but
there should be a mechanism where there's always a victor in the NFL.
That was the game with the bad roughing the passer call that Clay Matthews had, and like 18 missed field goals.
Yes, there were a bunch of missed field goals. Yes, good memory.
Thank you. And then, so a week later, you're starting against the Browns. Take me through that process and that time in your life, because talked to you a year before, and you were just saying you're waiting on your shot, and you were ready for this. So
yeah,
just take me through that.
I was on IR, injured reserve, for 10 weeks because of my surgery on my thumb, my throwing hand. So I actually got taken off of IR the week I was starting my first NFL game. So I was still trying to kind of get acclimated to grabbing the ball and like getting back out there. So probably not had to knock some rust off a little bit. Hadn't played football in 10 weeks. You haven't, gripped a football and thrown competitively in a few months. So, obviously a dream come true. The fact that I got to start a game in the NFL, and my family and friends all came out to the game. But yeah, it's intense. It's a lot of preparation. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of making sure it's coming. Getting on the right page with your teammates. So definitely a dream come true, but definitely difficult. And then obviously that led to the other 2 starts, and so fortunate to look back on the 3 starts, just to have that experience and the game speed and to bank those reps, because down the road, hopefully if I get another opportunity here, I can use those to my benefit moving forward.
Against the Browns, your yards and touchdowns each game went up. It started 77, 0 touchdowns, and 187 yards and a touchdown, then 262 and 2 touchdowns. And so how'd you grow on those 3 games, and take me through the process building into the next one? Because I get those notifications on the Lions app. Tim Boyle, the starting quarterback interview on Tuesdays, I think it was. So yeah, you were the guy for that like month or whatever.
Yeah, it was cool. It really was a cool experience. I was always able to watch Aaron do it from afar, being his backup and seeing how he handled being a starter. And it's so interesting being a starting quarterback, just the interviews, the pregame interviews, you got to make this call and you got to talk to this media member, and then you have meetings and you got to go home and sleep and do it all over again. So it's just, there's so much that goes into it. And that's why I respect every NFL quarterback who's starting, because it's so taxing, but it's what we love. It's what we signed up for. I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, to go off your question, I felt more comfortable as the season progressed in terms of when I played. So like the first game, right, knocking a little bit of rust off. The weather was kind of iffy. It was a little rainy, a little cold, a little windy. Didn't play very good my first game. Played inside the next game, so you didn't have to worry about the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Played better, but still made a really critical error at the end of the game that I wish I had back. It still kind of haunts me a little bit. And then played at Seattle, and they jumped on us early. We were down a bunch of points. So at that point, we just got to go out there and try to throw the rock a little bit. So I had more yards every game, but I felt more comfortable. I felt like I had a really good plan moving forward, that I was seeing the game well. So I'm excited for my next opportunity.
And I will say one of the biggest things I admire about you football-wise is you did throw some interceptions, but you were never afraid to throw the ball deep, and you're never afraid to take your chance and just leave it out there. And a couple of them were 50-50 balls that some of them, could have been caught arguably, or at least incomplete.
But, unfortunately, that's playing quarterback. That's what's going to happen. And I could take you through all 6 of those interceptions that I threw last year and tell you exactly the play calls and tell you exactly what I could have done different, what I thought the ball could have been. So, hindsight's always 2020, but those are the things you have to learn from. You really have to critically analyze what you did and try to correct it so it doesn't happen moving forward, because mistakes are wonderful. I mean, you can't grow without making mistakes. The trick of the trade is trying to not make the same mistake twice. So just being aware, writing it down, journaling, taking notes, and just making sure that, I understand where I've already made mistakes and try to clean those up moving forward.
Okay. And then this is gonna be a good question, not even relative to anything, but who on the team would you least like to date your sister?
That's so tough. Oh man, I love all my teammates.
A few moments later.
Oh, that's so tough. Probably one, because I love him, and two, because I know he doesn't want to be in a relationship. He just kind of enjoys being by himself and just having his free time. Craig Reynolds,
Okay.
our running back. Yeah, Craig's an awesome human being. I think the conversation would go great with my sister and him, but I just know that he does not want to be in a relationship. So I don't want someone who doesn't want to be in a relationship to be dating my sister.
That's fair. That's good. Yeah, luckily you don't have Stephon Diggs or anyone on the team, so they're safe.
No, not at all. But I love Craig. He's a wonderful player and a good friend.
Mhm. And then getting back to last season, how are those two Green Bay games?
The Green Bay games were intense, man. I mean, the first one was cool, going back to Lambeau and seeing all my ex teammates and coaches, and just I felt the love from the Green Bay fans, which was cool to see. They didn't forget about me after those 3 years, so it was cool. And then at the end of the game, at the end of the year, I know Jordan played majority of the game, Jordan Love, and they struggled a little bit on offense, but it was kind of cool to have the season I had. And the last snap of our season was me taking a knee on my former teammate.
It's usually turned into picks. Tim Boyle takes a knee against his former team, and that'll
my teammates, my former team. So kind of a special moment for me, being able to, beat the Packers and take the last snap of the season and take a knee. But it's really good to see those guys. I've so many special relationships with those guys in Green Bay, and I talk to Rob Tunyon all the time, Tyler Davis. I talk to Aaron a little bit. So it's just, the relationships, as you and I have talked about, are so important in life, and being able to, start, continue, and finish relationships that are meaningful to you. And I think that's really what life's about. Football is just a bridge and an opportunity to meet people. Honestly, it's a cool job. It's what we do. It's what we're good at. But ultimately, it's the relationships that you remember.
Yeah, I completely agree. And fast forwarding to this season, how was training camp with Hard Knocks, and what was that experience like? And did you enjoy it, or was it a little bit of a distraction or annoying at times?
At times it's distracting because there are just cameras everywhere, and there are the boom mics above your head, so you don't feel like you can naturally be yourself, be very authentic. You didn't want to make a mistake or say something you regretted, and all of a sudden it's on national television. So
I give you $1, you tell me what you're about to run. I give you $1, you tell me what you're about to run. Come on, man, $1, I got you.
I enjoyed the fact that that Hard Knocks was there. I enjoyed the fact that that part of my life was documented, and I'll be able to share that with my kids. And it's cool to see my life in a show format. I didn't really watch any of it. I had a couple clips sent to me from friends, but I'll probably let that cool down for a few years, and I'll probably go back in a few years and watch it and be surprised by it. But everyone always asks me if I watched it, and I say no, and I lived it. So to answer your question, no, they weren't annoying. It wasn't a distraction, just more so cool that I get to have that opportunity. But also kind of, a little bit painful because of the training camp I did have. And, the Lions ended up cutting me and then re-signing me, and having that whole thing on TV was tough, because everyone sees that, raw emotional moment for me, but people have been wonderful, just making sure that I've been okay. But yeah, it's all perspective. I have a job back with the Lions. I'm happy, I'm healthy, like we just talked about. And, you can't really experience the highs of the highs without understanding what it feels like in the lows of the lows. So I enjoyed having them there. I'm looking forward to watching it probably in a few years.
Detroit brought you back, and you got to compete for a spot in the preseason, which you're familiar in doing. And then how'd you view each preseason game? And was there anything specific that you tried to put on display?
I wanted to make sure I was getting through my progressions in preseasons. I didn't want to feel like I was locked on something. If I didn't feel like I had something, I wanted to get to my second, my third progression. Check downs were a huge thing for me this year, not forcing the ball downfield. And if I didn't have anything, finding my running back and checking the ball down. But to look at my preseason, I think the first game I played well. I threw an interception on a shallow route that I didn't really like the ball. If I put it out another foot in front, it's not an interception, but the defensive back actually made a really good play on it. Threw that touchdown to Devin Funchess, which was really fun.
235 pounds. You line that tight end on the outside, and he can go and get it.
And I think that's one of the clips that got sent to me was me saying Dimer, I think is what I said. And then the second preseason game, I played the second half of the Colts game, and I feel like I played really well. I converted on that I don't know how long it was, 21-play drive, a lot of third downs. I had a little scramble for a first down. So I felt really good coming out of that game. And then I got to start against Pittsburgh, and we kind of came out flat a little bit. We couldn't get anything going on offense. I had 4 balls batted down on me at the line of scrimmage, threw an interception on a third down play, and the defensive back kind of just fell off one of the routes and just kind of hit him right in the chest. And it's one of those throws as a quarterback where you kind of have to take a chance. You don't really know what the defender's going to do because the ball's in the air, but he saw it, made a play, and intercepted the ball. And then, the Lions made a decision that they wanted to try to find another player to back Jared up, and fortunately they ended up signing me back. So I'm back in the quarterback room, and it's all good. I still have a job, but to answer your question, my bulk of my work in training camp and preseason, I really don't feel that bad about. So I feel like I'm continuing to grow as a player and a person still.
Okay. And what was the process like when I didn't see the Hard Knocks side. What was the process like when you did get cut and then they re-signed you? Was it immediate, or did you look through potential other options?
A few days after the last preseason game, and they call you up on the off day and they say, "Hey, can you come in?" You sign some paperwork, you talk to the coaches, you kind of just say your goodbyes. And then, I drove back home to Connecticut because I didn't really have a plan at that point. I thought I'd sign with someone else, or there was a potential that, Detroit could sign me back. So I went home for 5 days and I wasn't getting any calls. So I was kind of worried. It was kind of a weird up and down 5 days for me because I just got cut. It's kind of hurts the pride a little bit. You have to eat some humble pie, but the Lions ended up calling me back 5 days later, and I took a flight back out there and moved into my house that I have out here. And 6 weeks down, and here we are getting ready for Dallas.
Did you, with your house, how was that 5 days like with your housing? Because I assume you still had your house, whatever, in Detroit. So
when I stayed in Detroit for training camp, I was in a team hotel that they put me up in. So when they released me, I drove home, stayed in my home with my parents. My sisters were all there, so we were all kind of just being together for a little bit.
What'd you do last year when you were with Detroit? Where were you? Were you in a team hotel all year?
Yeah, so when I'm there for training camp, I'm in the hotel. Like right when the season starts, I move into the house that I'm in right now. Okay. So I was in this house that I'm in right now last year, and I asked to rent it again. So I rent out a house, which I love. Okay. I love this house. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What are you looking most forward to this season and then in the future?
Yeah, what am I looking forward to this season? I'm looking forward to growing my relationships with my teammates, having good personalized one-on-one conversations with them and trying to understand what makes them tick. Since I am third string, I really don't get many reps. So it's more so mental reps, making sure I'm staying on top of the game plan, making sure I'm getting Nate and Jared ready for game day. I take a lot of pride in making sure that they both feel comfortable with the game plan. But also, just bringing positive energy into the facility. You and I have talked about it before. Having positivity is super infectious, and the happier you are, the better perspective you are, the more attitudes you can change in a positive direction. So I try to show up with a smile on my face. I try to have good conversations, keep it light, and try to increase the energy in the building. We have a saying in our locker room. I don't want to botch it, but it's, I think I'm going to botch it, but it essentially talks about energy. It's a saying. It is a good quote, but it's like, don't be affected by the energy, like influence the energy. Like you be the person who everyone looks to and inspires them to do better. Don't be the person who's being dragged along. So I take pride in that. But I'm, staying in shape. I'm eating healthy. I'm working out 4 or 5 days a week. I'm running a lot, so I feel good.
Awesome. And I think I asked you this question last year. Maybe it's changed. Where do you see yourself? Where do you hope to see yourself in 5 years, 10 years?
5 years, I still see myself playing in the NFL in 5 years. This is my 5th year. I would love to play 5 more and sign contracts and continue to do what I love. Speaking this to existence right now, I'm going to be in 5 years. I'm going to be playing in the NFL. Don't know what team I'm going to be on, but I'm going to be grateful that I'm on a team in 5 years. Hopefully have a wife and kids at that point, and hopefully start getting my life going from a family standpoint, but also kind of find my niche in the NFL and stay here because I feel like I do belong here.